Good morning. We are WRME Live. I'm Carl Mingers. This is Aaron Burns. Episode 159, July 30th, 2020. Well, has the pandemic been a full 6 months yet? When did it start? February or March?
I don't even know.
Seems like forever now.
It does, because it started slowly and then it went full blown and then it tapered off and then it flared back up
Now
and then it's
full-blown pandemic again. Of course,
yeah.
The news, I don't know whether they're more excited about the hurricane or the pandemic right now. It's just like nobody can win.
No.
Man, I tell you, real estate has been exciting, to say the least. Is seller's market, absolute seller's market, okay? In certain areas, we have a full 10% appreciation over 2019. Market's up, inventory is way down. So if you've got something to sell, it is definitely time. And if you're needing to sell or wanting to sell, it's the time to do it. I need to explain a little bit, folks, the importance. If you're starting to get into a pickle, face reality.
Yes.
Head these things off at the path, okay? And a lot of times there's a lot of different ways that can be dealt with. It's best if we can just sit down and discuss the options with them before you get into a bad way. You don't want to hit that 91st day and the bank file the list pending on your property, because that sets in motion all kinds of issues.
Right. And that could have been avoided. And then you sit down and talk to us, it stays between us. We're not going to go out and tell everybody about it.
They can't tell. Well, first of all, our fiduciary responsibility is to the client.
Exactly.
There's plenty of dirty laundry out there. We don't need to spread that. Right.
That'd be like you not being able to trust your doctor or your therapist or whatever. We're not going to say anything. And in saying that, we need you to be completely honest with us when it comes down to it. How far are you behind? How much longer? If you aren't behind, how much longer do you got before you will start having to miss payment?
And what's your options? Sometimes you're better off to sell and downsize, or I can tell you, if you need to downsize or you need to just get out from under some debt.
Yes.
Once it hits the foreclosure list, your chances of renting a house at a decent rate are gone.
Yes.
Okay. And the last thing we want you to do is start getting into I call it the renter pickle. Okay. I mean, these people are they got in a little bit of a bad way, and then they get, their insurance rates go up on their vehicles, their house. If they have to rent something, they got to pay a premium. It's a vicious cycle, and it does tend to punish. I'm not going to say poor people, just people that are at a disadvantage at the time.
It doesn't matter where you are in life. You could be doing great and just get hit, job loss, reduction, pandemic.
Double job loss.
Health, whatever. I mean, there's higher ups getting laid off just as easily right now as the lower workers.
And, right now, there's just, this week, the $600 unemployment thing expires today, actually. I was thinking it was August 7th, but it actually expires July 30th. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So, that's going to affect our rental market, okay, because I'm sure a lot of people have been using that $600 a month to pay their rent or their mortgage or whatever. I'm curious to see what Congress does about that. Somebody needs to step up and do something. I'm not so sure they need an extra $600 a week. Now in some markets, I understand that's justified because of the cost of living. In Oklahoma, somebody gets an extra $600 a week, they just got a huge raise.
Wow.
Okay.
I wouldn't know what to do with an extra $600 a week when I was working a normal 8 to 5 job.
Right. And then there's so many people aren't even eligible for unemployment.
Yes. And you gotta think
makes things
too,
tight.
if you're self-employed or you're a contract laborer, and you're in a bind, reach out to us if you're, own a house.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us. We'll see what we can help you, like Carl said, whether it's selling it or maybe you have an option to refinance.
Right.
I mean,
Refinance, I love to sit down with people and look at their bills and expenses, that's not something that a normal realtor does.
No.
Okay, but I like to work, and especially when I was really heavily involved in the church, sit down with young couples, especially, and say, okay, you don't need this $400 cable bill.
Right.
You can trim that back to $135.
I'll tell you right now, you don't need cable. We haven't had cable for years.
Right. I mean, there's just certain things, and my wife and I, we look back, we had such an advantage over all the young couples getting married now.
Right.
We didn't have cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even have to have car insurance.
No
and
internet.
Of course, we drove old paid off cars, but
Right.
we didn't have a car payment. When we first got married, we lived in a 12 by 60 trailer house. We paid $5,000 for it. Okay, I paid 28% interest until I learned about interest, and we got that paid off.
But you learned about it.
Oh yeah. Well, I knew absolutely nothing, and I'm a little frustrated. Kids coming out of high school, or even some of these kids coming out of college, they don't really understand the power of interest.
Right.
On the saving side or the cost side. We had a bump in interest rates this week for one day. They went up almost a half a point for one day, but dropped back down yesterday. You can't get interest rates on a property any cheaper than we've got right now. It's near zero. I mean, it's about 2 3/4. That even just a few years ago, that was just unheard of.
Right.
If you got below 5, man, you had it made.
And people got to understand that interest rates right now, they're going to eventually go back up. It's how it works.
They are.
But that doesn't mean that 7, 6, 7, 8, 9% is crazy. I mean, it was worse, like you said, 28% interest.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, in reality, that should have been criminal. I went to a local bank that, I just knew nothing. But my wife worked part-time at a bank, and we went to that bank, and the guy gave me a huge lecture and all this stuff about being responsible and all that. And then he charged me 28% interest, knowing full well that I didn't have a clue what I was signing for. Okay.
So do your research, do your due diligence. Maybe you get into it and you refinance in 3 to 4 years or something and get a better interest rate. I mean, there's always options.
And you want to talk mortgage stuff, okay? We have run onto more wingnut mortgage people in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
If ask around, ask your friends, ask somebody that's been through this. Don't just run down to your local bank or somebody you've heard of. There's legitimate quality lenders out there. Regular banks, mortgage brokers, there's good ones. And the ones that are good, most of them have been around a while. One thing about when the market turns like this and everybody's wanting to refinance, everybody and their dog wants to get a mortgage license, and they don't have a clue what the heck they're doing.
Or they could have been in the industry for years. Any other industry, there's the good and there's the bad.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's just very frustrating. And you'll generally know in the first week of the transaction if things are not being communicated well, stuff's not going right.
And listen to the other counterparts of your deal, because that lender might be a smooth talker when it comes to you because you don't do this every day. So he can, or she can, or they can, or whoever can talk circles around you.
They outmaneuver people because they're talking a different language.
So if you're working with a real estate agent, if you're working with somebody else that does more of these deals, ask them, see what's going on.
Absolutely.
They'll be the ones to tell you, hey, we need to look at somebody else. And hopefully it's not. And
we build relationships with lenders. We don't get a nickel back from lenders. We can't do that. But I tell you, a lender that helps us do our business smoothly, helps us to help you have a smooth
That
transaction.
goes with title companies, inspectors,
Inspectors,
roofers,
we got some
termites,
wingnut
whatever.
inspectors out there, and then we got some inspectors that don't inspect enough. We're kind of picky on this stuff because reputation matters,
Right.
and
Well, and if we do
all this business is stressful enough without our clients having to bear the burden of somebody else's stress.
well,
Yeah.
and we understand that our referrals, like if we refer a lender, a home inspector, termite, whatever, structural engineer, there's all kinds of stuff that reflects back on us too.
Okay. Yeah. Good morning, Kay Acres. Yeah. Terry, one of our agents, is a probate specialist.
Yes.
We hope to not have probate stuff, but I mean, we deal with it, but
It
that means
happens.
somebody's died,
Yes.
and the family has to deal with that
And
stuff.
there's no will or anything like that, so
Right,
it has to go into probate.
It's a mess. But that's why you want to find people that know exactly what to do in those situations.
That's like you.
And
what
just
you-
because your sister-in-law's cousin has a real estate license doesn't mean you need to use them or you have to use them.
And
Find somebody that knows that market, that type of business, and go with it.
Yeah, and don't feel bad about hurt feelings. If I'm an agent and I know you and you don't use me, you have a reason. I'm not going to be like, oh, why didn't you use me? How dare you not use me?
That is embarrassing when somebody does that.
Well, sometimes I know the people well enough to know I know how they are and they don't want me to know certain aspects of it.
Mhm.
Some people are that way. They
Right.
want to keep friendships and business separated.
Well,
And buying a house is business.
in this business, you start developing a thick skin fairly quick.
Yeah.
And you can't take a lot of things personal.
No.
And that's what, back to the point we were talking about. If you're having issues, or even think you might be going to have issues,
Call.
you need to pony up and say, hey, I need some help. I need some advice. It costs you not a nickel for us to sit down and try to build you a plan to, fix your situation or attempt to fix your
Yeah.
situation or plan your way out of the situation.
And don't be embarrassed. At some point in
Yeah.
everybody's life, somebody needs help with something.
And with this pandemic, it's a free for all. I
Right.
mean, it's and this is not over yet. So,
Nope.
all right, we've probably rambled on long enough,
Yeah,
haven't we?
They're sick of hearing from us. They're like, are they done talking yet?
All right, well, we got beautiful weather here. Go out and enjoy your weekend. We are WRME Live, where we do real life, real world real estate every day. Come see us.
Bye.
Bye-bye.